Hey, this is Kyle Carver from Strong Dads. Strong Dads wants to thank Crimer Beer House for sponsoring today's Strong Dads podcast. The beer house was started in 1982 by the Crimer family. Since that time, they have become a Cincinnati favorite. If you're looking for an incredible meal and an incredible setting, you have to try Crimer's Beer House down on Route 128 in Cleves, Ohio. Hey guys, what's going on? I'm here with Merle.
Hey, what's going on there? Up and at 'em today.
Oh,
I like
yeah.
that shirt you're wearing.
I know, it looks good.
Yeah, Mr. Strong Dad.
Yeah, we got a Strong Dad shirt on. But yeah, man, we're super excited here doing another episode with you guys. The weather is quickly changing on us. Unfortunately, I think the fall is kind of slipping away. We're getting close to that winter
fall,
time.
right?
I know, seriously. But yeah, we're excited to be back and hanging out with you, Merle, and excited to do this.
Yeah, how the girls doing?
Oh, they're good. They're good. Back in school again today. So I got.
That's right. You had some sickos there.
I did.
Too long ago.
Yeah. My oldest got a little sick. So, but yeah, dropped them off to school, and
I bet you're a heck of a nurse.
Oh.
I can see you right now. Oh, can I get you some chicken noodle soup?
Well, my oldest, she was so sick, she was just like roll over on the couch and just throw up in the bucket. She wasn't even getting up at all. So I felt for her a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, finally a little bit of softness.
Like, Ava, you can stay there as long as you want, sweetie.
Yeah. You're bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, what are we talking about today?
Yeah. So today we are going to look at what it looks like to have a good work-life balance. In a lot of ways for dudes, this can be a little difficult. So we felt like we should definitely talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. I like the idea. So the whole idea of the word balance, work-life balance. And so it's easy for us to get out of balance. A lot of things pull on us, whether it's our job or whether it's our hobby or just being distracted. So, once in a while, we were talking a little bit ago, sometimes there are seasons of that, and you go, well, it's just a season, and we'll get through this. Like you were just telling me that you enrolled back into some classes and taking class. Well, now all of a sudden your schedule just got filled up again. Yeah. But it's a season. Yep. And putting that in its proper perspective. Yeah,
and the thing with the season is there has to be an end to it. They can't just be, kind of writing that blank check. There has to be a point, if it is that season where work is kind of overtaking a lot of what you're doing. There has to be, there has to be a date or a time when that season's going to kind of dry up, and then you kind of get back to normal life. Especially if you're married, it's only fair for your wife to know and have expectations. Okay, this period is going to be going on for X amount of time, and then it's going to dry up, and then we can get back to normal life.
Yeah, having respect for her and the family and that. All right, well, hey, we need to respect Strong Dads, and we respect Strong Dads by giving some thanks to our sponsors.
Heck
so, who's our first sponsor there we need to talk about?
Yeah, so definitely, Strong Dads definitely wants to thank Crimer Beer House for sponsoring today's Strong Dad podcast. If you guys don't know, the Beer House was started in 1982 by the Crimer family, and since that time, they've definitely become a Cincinnati favorite. So if you guys are looking for an incredible meal, an incredible setting, go check out Crimer's Beer House down on Route 128 in Cleves, Ohio.
All right, yes, love heading up down that way. In fact, I think I'm going to see that this weekend. I can maybe feel one day this weekend heading down to Crimer's.
I like it. Go get a beer.
I might do that.
Okay.
Also, we want to say thank you to Mansfield Insurance Agency, located in Bright, Indiana. Thank you, Mansfields, for sponsoring the Strong Dads podcast. They were established in 1981. The Mansfield Insurance Agency is dedicated to the individuals and business in not just the Bright, Indiana area, but they also serve Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky, the surrounding areas. So for all your insurance needs, contact Mansfield Insurance. So we want to thank both of our sponsors for allowing us to get our message out.
Heck yeah, for sure. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit about what this whole work-life balance is. So here I am. I'm a young dude. Whatever. I'm 27. How old are you? Oh, you're like 30, right?
31.
So you're like the dude I'm talking to today, right? You're 31. You've got a house. You've got two sweet little girls that are much more like their mother than their father, and so all of a sudden you you're no longer playing like you were when you were 20 years old out with your buds and doing stuff, but now you start to lock into work. So run that out for me. What do you see guys your age doing kind of in your group, your age group?
Well, I'm actually, I think with my friends, majority of my friends are not married.
So you still haven't grown up, right? You're still hanging with the teenagers.
So I get in trouble a lot with this because Jenny's like, "Oh, you're going to hang out with your buddies again. That's awesome. I'm glad they don't have a wife." And majority of my wife's friends are all married, so she doesn't get that exposure to go hang out with them. So yes, I probably get away with more than I probably should.
We should have Jenny on this show today. I can see there's another side to this story now.
Yeah. So I mean, with my buddies. We love sports, so most of the time that's kind of the center of what we're doing is with sports. I know during March Madness, my work-life balance is no work and all rest. I tell Jenny for first 4 days of March Madness, I'm emotionally and physically unavailable.
Oh, wow. We're going to talk priorities during this show. I can see this.
Yeah, so well, see, it works out nice because now Jenny goes out of town because she just knows that she can't.
Hopefully she takes the kids. Otherwise, they're going to be sitting there like unfed, dirty.
Yes. Yeah, she takes the girls with her because I'm not there. Right, wrong, or different. We'll say I'm unavailable.
You're detached.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so the conversation goes to the idea that a lot of times we find ourselves getting buried in stuff other than our family. Yeah. And so it's really not just life-work balance, it's family. Yeah. And we're talking about strong dads. We're talking to strong dads. And that whole idea of how do we keep some perspective? What's healthy? What do we want our family to look like, not just this week, but over the course of years? And finally, when we get toward the latter part of raising our kids and our family, did it produce the fruit that we wanted when we were 25 and just starting this family thing, or whatever age that we started at? So the priority is really something that I think we have to be really careful about, not just letting it happen. Like, well, whatever happens, happens. I'm working a lot or whatever. It's like, a priority means I have put thought into it. Yeah. I've established some ground rules, some boundaries. And so if you let your work schedule and your hobby schedule and your pleasure schedule dictate how your day is going to run, eventually you're going to run short of those goals that you speak so highly of as a Christian man.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's going to be a little bit of what we're talking about and how we go about that. But there are some there are ways that we look at. Okay, so how are my priorities right now, and how do I go back to reestablishing them? Yeah. And so we're going to talk about how you actually hit a reset button. And I use the term reset button all the time in my coaching work because reset is we're familiar with in this technical age is, man, when my computer's not doing what I thought it was supposed to be doing, sometimes we're told to shut it down completely and reboot it, give it a fresh start, get all the junk off of it. Yeah. And that's exactly what the reboot or the reset is in our life. Sometimes we just got to shut it down, go back to ground zero, and then start to rebuild it from there. And so we're going to talk about how we actually do that. Yeah. So there are some pretty interesting stats that we have on work, and I think part of our conversation today really goes outside of work. It goes into things that keep us away from our family. Yeah. But, you actually are pretty fortunate, Kyle. You have I'm going to say like a floating schedule. Explain a little bit about your schedule and how it provides time at different opportunities for you.
Yeah, so my schedule definitely is I've been very blessed with my schedule. It took a long time to get to where I'm at with my current schedule. So I work for 24 hours around the clock, and then I'm off for 48 hours. And what that does is it allows me to spend a lot of time at home. I get to spend a lot of time with my girls, which I absolutely love. I wouldn't trade it for anything. The downfall to my schedule sometimes is when my wife gets home and I've been home all day, I'm ready to go, and my wife is ready to kind of, turn down the dial a little bit and kind of relax and get ready for the next day. Having those 2 days off, just like you were saying, sometimes I feel like my work schedule actually dictates a lot about my personal at-home family time. And that's something, it's definitely a balance, especially as my girls continue to get more involved, going in, starting school activities. The idea that I need to make sure that those 2 days off, that not only is it time I get to spend with the girls, but also doing the day-to-day stuff that has to be done for my kids. So my schedule is definitely fantastic in that regards. Obviously there's my schedule, because it's always the same. It doesn't matter when my 24 hours that I work falls. It could be on Christmas, Thanksgiving, right, Easter. I have to be there. So that's definitely the downfall to my schedule, but the upside, being able to spend an incredible amount of time at home has really been awesome.
So time availability is not a problem.
Correct.
It's sometimes the time location could be a challenge if it falls on a particular day or what have you that doesn't coincide with what the family would like to do.
And just the idea that making sure that my time home is purposeful. It's very easy to sit on the couch and do nothing. Especially my first day off. That's typically what I like to do, because I work for a very, very busy fire department. So when I come home, my first day off, first half of the day, I'm usually just vegging a little bit. So it works out really well when my girls go to school, because it allows me to have that time to myself to kind of, decompress a little bit, get back to the normal schedule, and then when my girls get home, kind of kick them back in gear and doing the whole dad thing.
So in the firefighter world, and really probably a lot of public service type work like that, for the most part, you guys are not overly driven by money.
Correct.
Right? I mean, you can't, it's not like, well, if you put out one more fire, you'll make an extra $1,000. And the next thing you know, it's like, the more fires I fight, the more money I make. And so I can build my account, my bank account. It doesn't really work that way.
No, it doesn't.
I work in the school setting, and it's very much the same way, in a sense of the more hours that you worked, it wasn't like you were going to be rewarded or celebrated with more money. It was very set. And so for you and I, money was probably never the big motivator for work, because it just doesn't really change much.
Right.
I was fortunate as well through as a school system. I honestly never really beat myself up over, man, I need to spend more time with my kids. My kids might even tell you I needed to spend less time with them. And I was fortunate that way. I was, with having similar school schedules that they would have. I was off a lot when they were off. So that worked out really well, and I don't have any regrets with that at all. I'm not one of these guys that I wish I would have spent more time with my older boys. With that being said, I've changed my work schedule now.
Sure.
And now that we are in our ministry, work is a lot different. I'm busy almost every night now, and that's when my kids are home.
Sure.
And so this conversation now starts to be more real to me. Trying to juggle athletic events that they're involved in, and trying to I've got coaching appointments that I've got to take care of, and I've got my kids' stuff, and I'm doing stuff on the weekend now more so than I did maybe when I was just in the school business. So this topic becomes very relevant to where I'm at right now.
Sure.
Okay. So here's what Lynn and I actually had to go through, and this is something that we don't go through one time and it's set. We have to recycle on this topic all the time.
Sure.
Just about probably a month ago, we had to sit down and say, okay, what's our priority? And so our first challenge with strong dads out there is to sit down force yourself and say, well, what's my priority? And then secondly, with your spouse, and say, okay, what's the priority for our kids and our family? And talk is cheap when we start to follow somebody's actions, and I can be guilty. I can say, my priority is I want to have a good family and raise Christian kiddos and be involved in church and all that, and then all of a sudden I start to see really where I'm spending my time. As you've mentioned in previous shows, where I spend my time and my money and my leisure activities, and all of a sudden they don't reflect this goal that I had. So one of the very first things is that whole idea of evaluating. And this is an evaluation that has to be really pure.
Sure.
It has to be raw.
Yeah.
You have to call yourself out. If I say that money's not a motivator, but I find myself trying to pick up extra shifts all the time at work because I get paid overtime.
Yep.
Okay, what's the motivation? And I'm not saying that would be wrong. I'm just saying, what's your motivation?
Right.
And you need to have that conversation.
Yep. And with the evaluation, just like you were saying, you and Linda had to revisit this. This is that idea that setting your priorities early on in your marriage is not something that you set once and you never revisit. It's something, especially different phases. We were talking about different seasons. You may have to sit down multiple times. I know Jenny and I, we sit down, multiple times a year. Let's look at our finances. Let's see where we're at. Let's see what we want to do. Kind of getting back to those priorities, making sure that, we set limits with our girls that during school, they're only going to be allowed to do one activity, because we also know that our family time has to be a priority. It has to be something that we prioritize, along with making sure that my wife and I still have our jobs, still do our normal schedule, and making sure that our girls are still feeling the love, the whole family dynamics that we want to present to our kids, and making sure that those priorities are set forth, just constantly revisiting those.
Right, because there's a long-lasting payoff for this versus the short return. And so, it's hard for us to not live in the moment or in the day.
Yep.
But in our instant gratification world that we find ourselves living in, we kind of want our kids and us to be happy right now and today, doing what we want to do.
Yep.
And we start to see how it starts to erode what the long-term goal might be.
Yep.
And everybody's doing their own thing.
Yep.
So after we go down and we actually have this evaluation, okay, what's important to us? Where's money stand? Where's health and time? What about our spiritual commitment? To actually lay this out. To say that I'm a Christian and I don't do anything to really feed my Christian growth, whether it's going to church, Bible studies, whatever. To say I'm a Christian and just that whole idea of, I believe in God, but, it's just personal, me and him. I'm sorry, that's just real chicken. It's just not enough. And it's not enough because I know how I am.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I visit a place once a year. It's not enough to really get the benefit. So
just those priorities, making sure that if Christ is supposed to be the center of our life, that it is displayed in that. I know my wife is big with servanthood, and she'll take our girls to do Matthew 25 ministry and passing out meals, making sure that we prioritize those. And it takes a lot to reshuffle our schedule to make sure that my wife can take our girls that, because my wife loves doing that. And she loves showing our girls that. So it'd be so easy to say, oh, well, we got to do X, Y, Z. We can't go to church, or X, Y, Z. We can't do our worship night that we do on Sundays. But making sure, I've talked about it just like you were mentioned before, what does my calendar look like and what does my bank account look like? And those have to line up with what the belief systems that my wife and I are trying to, relay to our girls.
Yeah. Recently we did a show with our buddy Diesel about adultery.
Yeah.
And, adultery, obviously that's a whole different topic, but in a way it's not. It's not, because adultery hurts the people that we say we're committed to.
Yeah.
And there's a natural jealousy that comes about when, in that case, the wife becomes very jealous and angry about what the commitment to her and the family was. Guess what, guys? Our God is a jealous God.
Yeah.
And so we can commit adultery by saying we're committed as Christians to God, to Christ, but yet we constantly have affairs, so to speak, with all the other things that make us excited or draw our attention. And so if we think from the idea that our God is a jealous God, all of a sudden it starts to make us go, ooh. Just like our spouse would be hurt when we have an affair, God is hurt.
Yeah.
That, hey, he's your creator and you don't even have the time of day for him.
Yeah.
That's a spit in his face. And so I think one of the things that when we start to really look at it like that, like this is a relationship we're trying to feed, we can't partially feed that. It's got to be fully.
Yeah.
And then when I put it right with God, all of a sudden other things start to fall in their proper place.
Yep.
With God, because he's going to take the bulk of my thought. So the next thing we do is, once we do this whole evaluation and we establish our commitment, put put the excuses away.
Yeah, we talk about this all the time.
I mean, I'm great at this, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually in the process of trying to find how I can rationalize buying a new kind of motorcycle. You know, I mean, I owe it to myself, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I find myself in this little, I don't know, I'm in this little phase, and I'm like dreaming about different kind of enduro motorcycles and stuff, and I'm just like, you know, and
You're
I'm
too
not
old to be riding a motorcycle.
Back off, brother. I could get into that. And so there's excitement that comes from that. And the next thing you know, I can find myself on the internet or whatever, surfing and looking at these things. And it's like, you know, wait. And by the way, the motorcycle's not the problem.
Sure.
It's what it's going to cost us.
Yeah.
Not just financially, but all of these other things that we're talking about. And so at some point in time, if the cost does not really adversely affect other things, then no. I mean, these are rewards and funds and pleasures that we're not told to not have fun in life.
Yeah.
That's not what we're told. But we have to be sure that our priority does not get misconstrued because all of a sudden, hey, I finally got that dirt bike or whatever I'm looking for.
Yeah, just that idea, the needs versus the wants. We've talked about that a lot before. Just, again, going back to priorities, you know, making sure that the priorities in your family are what you absolutely have to have. You know, and anything outside of that, sure, they're nice to have every once in a while, but do they control, just like we're talking about with committing adultery against God, like, do they control your time and your efforts and your money, those extra stuff? Obviously are fun to have, but how do they line up in the grand scheme of things? Yeah.
So put the excuses away. And I will hear men throw excuses into blames where they will say, well, the reason why I have to work so much is because my wife wants this lifestyle or she spends money. And I'll call you out on that in a heartbeat. You know, that is just garbage. No, that's when you and your spouse need to come together and say, okay, wait, you know, what are we doing with our money? And if we are calling ourselves a Christian home, then that's a cheap excuse. And so it's time for us to sit down and we both come and knock our heads together to find out where we're going to spend our time and money.
For sure. And you this next one, you I know you comment and talk about this a lot, the idea of putting absolutes in your life. Yeah, talk about that. I mean, that's definitely something I've heard you talk a lot about.
Yeah, so, you know, what's an absolute? You know, we are in a world of gray, and so sometimes what sounds like it might not be a totally bad idea on the surface, if we don't put a guardrail or a boundary on it, it all of a sudden can flood into all parts of our life. So, like, let's say I come to the idea that I need to make a little bit more money to get me through the Christmas season.
Sure.
Okay? All right, that's legit. I don't have a problem with that at all. But then all of a sudden, you know, I picked up an extra 12, 15 hours a week, and it's overtime, and this is all good. And then we like the money.
Yeah. And
we spent a little bit more over Christmas than maybe we thought. And so, you know what? I'm going to do the month of January, too. I'll pick that up. Yep. And before you know it, we've redrawn our lifestyle to now need that extra 15 hours a week financially. And so I did not put a boundary on it. I didn't say, no, I'm doing, just like you talked about before, there has to be an end.
Yep.
And so putting absolutes in our life, I will not do this.
Yep.
You know, I am committed to this versus, well, it's kind of okay.
Yep.
You know, so that's in all parts of our life, whether it's pornography, alcohol, nicotine, you know, whatever it is, cell phone usage, you know, whatever it is, putting an absolute in.
And those absolutes, what that does is it creates accountability. Because if you just say, oh, well, I'll eventually stop working those amount of hours, or I'll eventually stop looking at pornography, there's no accountability to that.
Yeah.
Where if you say, I'm 100%, I'm done with this, there's some form, you've made that statement. It's not a blank check. It's not open-ended. It's a start and a finish point.
Yeah. And then the next part of this is, okay, now that you've gone through this, you share this with your spouse.
Yeah.
So you know you and your wife have been working through establishing the priorities and what's out of whack, what needs to be brought back together, and then you're going to share also with your wife. Okay, so what are the boundaries?
Yep.
What are the goals? Because she's no longer there to be my judge and jury. She's there to be my teammate and helping us both get through this. This is not whether I can get it done so I can win. This is that we can get it done so that we can win.
Yeah.
And so I want my wife on board to know what I'm working on, what I'm trying to do. So get your spouse involved. And you know, she may be doing a very similar practice in her walk. Get behind her.
Yeah.
You know, help her out with what, especially if it's something that you see is really helpful to your family. Are you kidding me? Help her.
Yeah.
You know, don't be a naysayer with her. Get behind her and help her out.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about divorce rates. I mean, I would venture to say a large, vast majority of reason why divorce rate is so high in our country is because your wife and your priorities don't always line up. And the idea that you're joining together to, you know, you should be a team going at it together. Your priorities should coincide. They should be in line with each other. And they, just like you're saying, you should support each other in each other's individual priorities, but also know that as a couple, your priorities should be geared together and going at them, together.
And your kids will be rewarded
Absolutely.
for your coming together.
Yep.
So, all right. So here's the tough part. This is me and a diet. You know the most common day that we start diets?
I'll start tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll start tomorrow. Right?
I'll start Monday.
Mondays or tomorrow are the most common days that we start plans. And obviously tomorrow never comes. Yeah. Tomorrow is always tomorrow. Yep. And so when does this plan start? It starts now. Yep. And I literally do mean that. So when we talk about this, I'm literally, when you're done listening to our show, the very first thing I want you to do is I want you to get a piece of paper and pen, and I want you to start scribbling down your ideas of where you're out of whack, where you're strong, what you're doing, you know, what your direction is. Scribble it down. The next thing you need to do is you need to run it by your spouse. Yeah. I mean, that conversation needs to take place. Okay. Yep. But this is not happening tomorrow. This needs to happen today. Yep. And at that point, when you're in your conversation with your spouse, you're starting to put in some accountability checkpoints. Yep. Of where you want to be and what are some things that are going to help keep you in check. All right. Yep. You know, when I do finally start that diet, one of the things we do is we hop on a scale every now and then. Sure. We have to see if we're really in check. Yep. And some of these things are simple to check. Some of them are more challenging, but we have to do that check. Yep. And starting that plan today, with that plan, something I would really encourage all of our strong dads out there to make a part of your plan is to put in there rest. Yep. We've talked about, before, the idea that men want to work and men should want to work. But if you are going at work and you're just beat up and you're tired and life's kind of kicking you in the tail, that idea that if you build in some rest and actually put that into your calendar, making sure that you have time where it's just you, maybe not necessarily in front of a TV, not in front of your phone, just being you, whatever that looks like for you, whatever your rest looks like, that idea that if you put that and build that into your schedule and your wife is behind that as a priority in your life, what that will do to your work will be crazy, because your performance at work will be so much better because you'll be rested and you'll be excited to do what men are supposed to do, and that's to work. Yeah. Well, Brian Tome, pastor over at Crossroads, wrote the book 5 Marks of a Man. Absolutely. And that is one of his marks, that men are made to work. We are designed to work. And it just couldn't be more spot on, I think. And that's why we struggle a lot of times when we see men that, want to be like little boys and sit on the couch and play video games. It's like, come on, dude. Grow up already. Yeah. We're designed to work and be providers and protectors. And so for that reason, we have to go out and do that. But the idea of I have to be strong. I've got to get rest. Yeah. And we rest so that we can work. So rest needs to be built in. Yeah, for sure. So we always talk about our home needs to be a place where we recharge. Yeah. And, church is a place where we recharge. Yep. We get filled back up again. Because I always say, the world's crazy. I need to be ready to go out into crazy if I'm going to fight it. Yeah, for sure. And just a call out to you strong dads out there. If you work at a place that gives you time off, that you get paid vacation or you get time away, and if you're the type of person that at the end of the year you have not used that time and you're going to lose it, like, what the heck are you doing? Again, build in that time. Make sure you're investing in your family. Also, obviously, like we were talking about, work is a good thing for men, but we need to, again, just that whole balance of fitting in our priorities, making sure that if you have time off,
golly, go take it. Make sure you're using that time. Don't let it go to waste, because again, I know I've said this before, your kids will never ever say, Daddy, why didn't you work more?
Yeah. And I think there's a dangerous part to where we are right now in our culture with cell phones and technology, the internet. There's an expectation now that at some level you can be at work 24 hours a day. I could be at home and I get a message that comes through my phone that is totally work related, and it's 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And, once in a while, whatever, but we have an expectation now that, man, if I shoot a message, I want a response back. And if I don't get a response back, but you were throwing me under the bus, and I'm sitting there thinking about this. Yeah, I'm calling you out right now.
No, I'm calling you out.
You shot me a message, and I didn't respond fast enough.
I know.
And it was probably like a 10. I had to check the timepiece on that.
Well,
but
4 days later, and then I show up today, and you lock the doors on me. I think we're going through a breakup.
You just weren't my priority at that point. But the whole idea, that's funny, but the whole idea is just that, we got to keep that in perspective. I actually know bosses, people in charge that have an expectation on their employees that emails will be answered within a 12-hour period. Text message will be answered in a certain amount of time. And I'm just telling you, if you're a boss out there, please put that in check. That is ridiculous, because if you want your employee to be healthy for the long haul, and come in, as you said before, rested, ready to work, they need to be away from your workplace. Yeah. And so if your boss doesn't do that, then, and it gets to the point where it's crazy, like you're on call all the time, even, you're not a fireman. Yeah. You need to reconsider where you're at. And so we really do talk to our business owners and our bosses. Please keep this in perspective. Don't expect that out of your employees. Allow them to get away and recharge and build their families.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
good point.
All right. Well, hey, we need to wrap things up. So we do want to thank our sponsors again. We want to thank Crimer's Beer House down on 128 for helping us out. And so if you're looking for a great place to eat, go down to Crimer's and have a meal and a drink, and I guarantee you'll enjoy that. Also,
let's also thank Mansfield Insurance Agency down there in Bright, Indiana. We really appreciate you guys. If you want to get any insurance stuff taken care of, definitely go check out Mansfield Insurance Agency. Definitely been dedicated to individuals and businesses in Bright, Indiana, serving clients throughout Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky.
All right, good stuff. So, hey, we want to thank all you strong dads out there. If you like what you're hearing, please share this. You know what? Even if you don't like it, share it, okay?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Share our message out there. Get it out there, whether you're listening on iHeartRadio or Spotify or whatever. Share this. Help get this message out, especially if you think it's going to be helpful. Also, this is a ministry, and it's a nonprofit, and any donations that you can make towards the Rock Solid Family Ministry would be greatly appreciated. You can go on to rocksolidfamilies.org, and there's a donate button on there, and so we would appreciate that. Any questions or comments, you can direct to me at hutch@rocksolidfamilies.org. I'd love to hear your comments, anything that we can do to help build this ministry or examine what it is that we're actually putting out here. So, again, thanks to all of our listeners. Kyle, you want to sign us out?
Heck yeah. Go out there and be some strong dads.
Hey, this is Merle Hutchinson from Strong Dads. Strong Dads wants to thank Mansfield Insurance Agency in Bright, Indiana for sponsoring today's Strong Dads podcast. Established in 1981, the Mansfield Insurance Agency has been dedicated to the individuals and businesses in Bright, Indiana, serving clients throughout Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky.